Bulking is just an excuse for having no willpower, cheating on your diet, and tricking yourself into thinking you're gonna pack on a lot more muscle in the process. I used to think that, and to a certain extent, it is true because a lot of people think that I just need to bulk and eat a ton and I'll get big. I did the same thing, gosh, like 10 years ago. I just ate a lot of food, worked out, and I just ended up getting fatter. I probably gained some muscle, but you're not gonna gain as much muscle as you think. Building muscle is a slow process, and just going crazy eating is not gonna make you look the way you want. I had a guy ask me the other day, how do you look like that? I'm like, well, looking lean or muscular or athletic is really just a fact of having a lower body fat percentage. So that brings us to the opposite end of the scale. What we hear from Greg Doucette a lot is the Maingaining thing, and that does work pretty well, especially if you're new. But the hard thing of that is you have to be really meticulous about what you're eating and make sure you're eating enough calories throughout the day to at least hit your maintenance, a little above maintenance technically, to gain muscle, and make sure you're having enough protein, because if you're in a slight deficit, well then that makes it harder to get strength, especially if you're already lean. And a lot of people want to look lean and muscular, and the leaner you get, the harder it is to build that muscle. Because even when you're Maingaining, you still have to gain weight to gain muscle. If you stay at the same body fat percentage, you have to gain weight to put on more muscle. So it's just part of the process. So you do have to be eating in a slight surplus over time. I talked about when I did it, I pretty much upped my calories about 100 a day every couple months, gained about 10 pounds in a year, and it worked pretty well. But as you get more into it, more advanced or intermediate, I'm not saying I'm advanced, but it's harder to keep that balance and still progress, and your progression of strength can really slow down, which is gonna happen regardless. But if you're barely eating enough to maintain your leanness, that makes it even more difficult. So I did my first real bulk a couple years ago. I didn't bulk and cut. There were a lot of things I had kept track of to make sure it worked well for me, and it really did work really well. I gained 12 pounds, still stayed lean over a short period of time. And so I'm gonna give you 4 steps to help you have a successful bulk so you don't just end up being fat. So number 1, ask yourself, why are you bulking? If the reason is I just wanna gain muscle, well, what is your body fat percentage already? If you're really lean, yeah, it makes sense to bulk. But if you're already 15, 20% body fat or more, well, you're technically already bulked. You have plenty of fat on you, have plenty of excess energy, and you can just train hard and build muscle without bulking. Because on the opposite end, when you're really lean, it's really hard to build muscle, especially if you're natural like me and most people who are probably watching this. If you're too lean, it's really hard to build muscle and build strength. For example, I maintained my strength as I slowly cut into my first bodybuilding show a couple months ago. And since then, I put on about 13 pounds in 9 weeks, and my squat has gone up 30 pounds, my bench has gone up 20, and my deadlift has gone up 25 pounds. And that is in reference to the numbers on all those lifts that I maintained throughout my cut until the last couple weeks before the bodybuilding show, because then you're really just dying at that point. It's hard to maintain your strength. You're going into deload and all that into the show. So make sure you have a good reason for bulking and not just doing it because you think that's gonna make you get big and muscular, because chances are you're just gonna get fatter. You'll probably get more muscular, but the end result probably won't be what you want. Because I know a lot of people think that I don't want to do the Maingaining thing. I want to bulk because I'll gain strength faster. If I Maingain, I'm not going to gain as much muscle as I could. But keep in mind, if you bulk a ton, you gain a lot of muscle and fat, then you decide, oh, I'm fat all of a sudden, I need a cut, and you go into a steep calorie deficit, you're probably not going to be gaining any strength, possibly losing strength, and in that case, losing muscle. So you might do 6 months of bulking, but now all of a sudden 3 months of cutting where your strength is going backwards, and you end up relatively in the same place with yo-yo dieting as if you slowly built up over time doing the Maingaining thing. So figure out a good reason why, and that brings us to number 2. After you figured out the reason why you're gonna bulk, now we're gonna figure out how you're gonna bulk, because this is where a lot of people mess up. I think they just start eating a ton, and then all of a sudden one day look in the mirror and think, I'm fat all of a sudden, I need a cut. And then they go into that steep cut, lose muscle, and lose strength. It doesn't work out for them. So set a timeline for your bulk. And how are you gonna do this? What I did was ask myself, how much muscle do I think I can realistically gain in, we'll say, a year? So maybe 10 pounds at the most. 10 pounds of muscle, that is a lot for a natural. You could do that in your first year, 2 years maybe, or like each first and second year, but it's gonna slow down, might be 8, 6, 4 over the years as you keep going. But we'll say 10 for this example. I can gain 10 pounds over the next year. So rather than slowly gaining that weight, adding 100 or 200 extra calories every few months while making sure we got all the macros and everything just right, we're going to gain that weight over 6 months or maybe 5 months. So it's just easy to do. So we're gonna gain 2 pounds every month for 5 months. So that's roughly half a pound of weight gain every week to get us to 2 pounds a month and then 10 pounds in 5 months. You might think that's hardly anything, but just that little surplus of food makes a huge difference. You're not gonna get super fat in the process, this. And then when you hit that weight, you know, okay, it's time to stop. I'm gonna maintain this weight. And that's what I suggest for you, is to maintain that new weight at least for 2 or 3 months. Because if you do all that work bulking, I hit it, now I'm gonna go into a cut. You didn't gain as much muscle as you think in 5 months. Maybe 3 to 4 pounds of muscle at the most. So if you cut way back down, you're gonna start losing strength. You're gonna get close to where you started and think, oh, this bulking and cutting didn't really work for me. Go up to that new bulk and just stay there for like the next 3 to 4 months. So we did 5 months of bulking. Now we're gonna stay there for 4 more months. And what's gonna happen, you just keep maintaining that amount of protein you need every day, the 1 gram per pound of body weight, at that new weight that's 10 pounds more. You keep training hard, and now 4 months later, you're probably gonna be leaner because you kept building muscle as you're burning some of that fat, kind of a recomp type of thing happening. And then, depending on how you look then, take pictures from when you first started, pictures now 9 months later, and think, okay, do I wanna cut some now, back a little bit? And you could lose 2 to 3 pounds, and it'll make a huge difference, and it's super easy. You can do that in less than a month. So you could do a 1 month cut and then stay there and re-examine, how do I look? Is it time to keep going higher? And that's a whole lot easier than bulking up a bunch and then cutting, and then bulking and cutting. I see people do it a ton online. Always posting pictures, just got done with this 16-week cut. Should I bulk now? And it's like, what'd you do the cut for in the first place? Or I'm bulking, should I keep bulking? All this stuff. People are just aimlessly gaining weight, losing weight. What is your goal? What are you trying to do? Figure it out, and what's the best way to get to that goal? Because just remember, if you go into a steep cut, you're probably gonna lose muscle, but if you just bulk up to that, the goal is to be at a higher body weight at the same leanness. So if you keep cutting back, you're not gonna be at that higher body weight. But if you maintain that for a while, your body gets used to it, it's gonna change some, and then you can reevaluate and figure out what you need to do. But the big thing is, don't make rash decisions. Stick with something over a long amount of time, and then see what happens. I see so many people posting on Reddit like, I've been training for a month. What should I do now? It's like, dude, nothing's gonna happen really in a month. So that brings us to number 3. When we come to training, that is you need to have a program that you're going to stick to, whether that's 3 days a week, you're doing some kind of full body, 4 days a week, an upper lower split where you're doing your whole body twice a week, or 6 days a week, push pull legs with some rest in there, add some cardio, however you want to do it, makes a big difference. But you have to have a program that you're going to stick to, be tracking your training, progressively overload your training, and pushing yourself hard every time you go to the gym. I keep on my phone my leg day, my push day, my pull day, with all the different machines that I have options at my gym. So when I go out of town, around the world, depending on what's available, I'd be like, okay, this is what I did last time. Not all machines are the same, but you have something relative to start with, where I shoot for 1 more rep or a little bit more weight for the same amount of reps. And then that's how you progressively overload. You keep tracking it, and you got to push yourself, because if you don't, what's the point of eating all this extra food? You're just going to get fat. You need to put that food to good use, push yourself hard in the gym, and remember that I'm trying to build muscle. I'm eating this food to make that happen. And so this is where I got to push myself hard. So you don't waste all that food by slacking off training, thinking, oh, I can just train easy now because I'm eating a lot. It's not how it works. And that brings us to the last step, number 4, and that is you still have to track what you eat. I'm just as meticulous about my diet when I'm bulking as when I'm cutting, almost even more so in bulking, because I want to make sure that I'm hitting those macros I need for that day, that I'm hitting the calories I need for a day, at least the minimum to maintain the new weight I'm at, because I don't want to go backwards. It's not just a time to, I'm just going to eat pizza and ice cream and all kinds of junk because I'm on a bulk. Still eating healthy foods, but eating more of those healthy foods. And I have lots of recipes on the channel. If you like eating a lot when you're bulking, it's easy to just get a taste for something like pizza. You start eating a bunch of it and your weight goes up a lot quicker than you need. But then when it comes time to stop the bulk or even go into a cut, you have to completely change your diet, because things like pizza aren't really that conducive to being in a calorie deficit, which makes eating the same things that you would in a cut, but just eating more during a bulk, even better for your diet plan. On the opposite end, once you get up to a certain weight, like right now I'm 13 pounds above what my stage weight was, I'm already to the point where I'm like, I am not really that hungry anymore. I can eat a normal meal and then just not want to eat for hours. When it came to right before the show, I'd be hungry as soon as I finished eating. It felt like I didn't even eat anything. So you're gonna get to the top end of your body set point where it's basically giving you signals to show you that, hey, you're not really hungry anymore. And if you want to keep going above that, you're gonna have to push yourself. That might be the time to introduce some more pizzas or ice creams and stuff just to get the calories up. But overall, you still want to eat healthy. You want to make sure you're getting that calorie amount, making sure you're getting the protein amount you need. Whereas you don't technically need as much. I still shoot for 1 gram per pound of body weight. I'm trying to get up to about 198. I've still got 8 pounds to go. And so I just shoot for about 200 grams of protein every day. But you have to remember, when you're bulking, carbs and fats are protein sparing. And when we're in a surplus, those things will be used for energy and the protein can be put towards building muscle. Whereas when you're in a cut, a lot of times you might want to bump up the protein a little more because some of the protein will inevitably get used for energy as well because your body's starving and it wants to get rid of your muscle. So weighing out your meals just like as if you were cutting to make sure you're getting the amount of food you need and you're eating those healthy things. And that doesn't mean you can't have any junk food. Of course, you're bulking, have fun with it, eat more than you normally would, but set some kind of percentage. I'm gonna eat 80% healthy and 20% junk, something like that. But just figure out how you're gonna do it, and that's gonna help you to bulk. So figure out why you're doing it, set a time frame for it with start and end point and weight goals so that you can track that along the way and you're not gaining too fast or too slow, and make sure you're on track. Make sure you have a training program that you can do consistently, push yourself hard, track it, progressively overload, and track what you're eating just like as if you were in a cut so that you can make sure you hit those goals as you're getting up towards that bulk. Wait, and then once you get there, again, just stay there, enjoy it. Don't be like, I need a cut. Oh, I'm fat all of a sudden. Take pictures before and after, then take pictures later on after you maintain that weight for a while. And you might be surprised to see how much your body changes at that same weight. It worked out for me. I'm doing it again now. And it's a lot of fun. I've been getting really strong. So let me know down in the comments what you're doing with your training right now, how you're eating. Are you bulking, cutting, maintaining, main gaining, whatever you want to call it. @Camber Fitness on Instagram. And I'll see y'all in the next one.